sorry, Michael Eckers from Minnesota, the other side of the cheddar curtain.
And what is it that we're doing here today?
Well, what I'm doing today is giving a talk on a little bit of Wisconsin history, the Civil War, specifically the boys who belonged to the Iron Brigade, the 2nd, 6th, and 7th Wisconsin regiments.
And how did you first become interested in doing this?
I have a couple of relatives who served in the 2nd Wisconsin. One of them actually died at Gettysburg on the second day. And they were my inspiration to it started as their story.
And the Iron Brigade is notable for what reason?
They suffered the highest percentage of casualties of any brigade in the Union Army. They were in the Eastern Front, the Union's equivalent to the Stonewall Brigade in the Confederacy.
Now, they were notable for being sort of a crack unit. What do you think it is that differentiated them from other units, perhaps, that didn't have such elan?
I think it started with John Gibbon, one of their first brigade commanders, who was a regular Army officer, later became a major general. And he authorized them to wear the regulation Army uniform. So they wore the tall black hardy hats, they wore the dark blue pants, not the light blue pants that the volunteers wore, and the long frock coats instead of the short jackets. So just looking at them, they looked different. They looked like a regular Army unit. And for being volunteers from Wisconsin, that gave them a lot of pride. In Wisconsin, learned how to fight under other people. So eventually, you take the 2nd, 6th, and 7th, and then they got added the 19th Indiana, and later on the 24th Michigan were added. So the Iron Brigade, as it was the Iron Brigade and was known, and when they fought their big day at Gettysburg, they were made up of the 2nd, 6th, 7th Wisconsin, 19th Indiana, and 24th Michigan. 5 regiments. And they had an artillery unit assigned to them, Company B of the 2nd U.S. Artillery. And that was under, well, it had been under Captain John Gibbon at one point. Gibbon returns as a brigadier general, as a brigade commander. And it's John Gibbon who really makes the Iron Brigade who they became. John Gibbon comes in and he liked the Western soldiers. The only thing he didn't like was the lack of discipline that Western soldiers tended not to call their officers sir. They would call them Frank or Ed or brother, because it was his brother, you know. And there was no military decorum. So the first thing Gibbon said was, we have to make this unit believe that they're a military unit. So he did. He took away their short-waisted, what are called sack coats, 4-button sack, little short-waisted jackets like an Eisenhower jacket during World War II, and he gave them frock coats, which are down to the knee, which the regular Army wore. The volunteers did not wear a long-waisted coat. They wore short coats. The volunteers wore light blue pants with a dark blue jacket. So John Gibbon said, no, we're going to outfit them with regular Army uniforms. They get the dark blue pants, they get the long frock coat, they get the shoulder scales, which were these metal things that everybody hated, like epaulettes with no fringe, white gloves, gaiters, which are like spats they had to wear. They had to keep all that stuff white, too. So, you know, it was a love-hate thing. They loved wearing the uniform, they hated maintaining it. And they got, the best part was the regulation Army hat. This bad boy right here. And when they put this hat on, they became soldiers. This hat, when worn by a group of 1,000 men, all carrying muskets tipped with a shiny bayonet, reflecting sunlight, is an awesome thing to see marching down the road. My main message in life is that history is something to look forward to. History, as you get older, history becomes more and more enjoyable. Well, I think we should start younger so that teens and adolescents have an opportunity to read about real heroes rather than about blood-sucking vampires and fire-breathing dragons and all these things that aren't real. I've never met a wizard. I don't know anybody with a magic wand, but I know a lot of real American heroes who were in their 15, 16, 17 years of age, right in that range, when they gave that final sacrifice for our nation.